What if the person holding your hand in paradise had already decided you wouldn't live to see tomorrow? Washington State, Saturday, 9:18 a.m. Sunlight poured through rows of towering coconut palms as couples wandered the quiet shoreline. Autumn Brooks laughed, slipped off her sandals, and ran toward the water. To everyone watching, she looked like a woman living the happiest day of her life. First 30 seconds promise. No one standing on that beach realized they were looking at the beginning of a murder investigation that would expose a romance built on carefully hidden lies. Main couple, Autumn Brooks and Clayton Reeves. Clayton Reeves smiled as he followed her across the sand, carrying breakfast and a small gift bag. He kissed her forehead, wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and promised they would start looking for their first home together before summer ended. Autumn believed every word. She texted her best friend, Faith Donovan. "I've never felt this safe with anyone." Those would become some of the most heartbreaking words investigators would ever read. 3 days later, Autumn never arrived at work. Her phone stopped moving. Her car remained exactly where she had parked it. But one detail didn't fit. But one detail didn't add up. The man who insisted they had spent a perfect weekend together couldn't explain why his timeline kept changing. Detective Bruce Holloway would soon discover that love wasn't the only thing Clayton Reeves had been hiding. Part 2. The search for Autumn begins, and the first crack appears in Clayton's perfect story. Autumn Brooks never missed work. When she failed to answer calls, her co-workers felt something was wrong long before police did. Faith Donovan stood outside Autumn's apartment, knocking again and again. Silence. Her purse was inside. Her car was still parked outside. But Autumn is gone. Detective Bruce Holloway began with the one person who claimed to know Autumn best. Clayton Reeves remained calm. He said they had spent a wonderful weekend together before she needed some time alone. It sounded believable. Until he told the same story again. The times were different. The places had changed. The details no longer matched. Julia Moreno recovered location data from Autumn's phone. One final signal appeared after Clayton insisted they had already said goodbye. Why was her phone still traveling in the same direction as his? That single contradiction transformed a missing person search into something far more disturbing. Detective Bruce Holloway spread Clayton Reeves' timeline across the table. It looked complete. Until one missing hour changed everything. Missing time, 58 minutes. Julia Moreno recovered deleted location records. Clayton's phone had briefly stopped transmitting before suddenly reconnecting miles away. It wasn't proof of a crime, but it was proof he hadn't told the whole truth. Meanwhile, Faith Donovan couldn't stop replaying one conversation. Just 2 days before disappearing, Autumn had smiled and whispered, "I think I've fallen for the perfect man." Those words now felt painfully different. Restaurant owner Cesar Alvarez remembered seeing the couple that weekend. Autumn looked happy. Clayton didn't. He kept checking his watch and repeatedly glanced toward the parking lot, as if he was waiting for something or someone. That small observation forced investigators to ask a chilling question. Was their romantic getaway ever about love? Or had it been carefully planned from the beginning? One missing hour. One growing suspicion. Detective Bruce Holloway stopped looking only for Autumn. He started following the money. Taylor Bennett discovered that, just days before Autumn disappeared, she had added Clayton Reeves as the emergency contact on a newly opened investment account. The amount wasn't enormous, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Clayton insisted he knew nothing about it. Then investigators found messages showing the account had been discussed between them only a week earlier. His denial had just become another contradiction. Another story falls apart. As detectives dug deeper, Piper Lawson uncovered something even more unsettling. Clayton had ended more than one serious relationship without leaving much of an explanation. No crimes, no charges, just a pattern that suddenly demanded attention. The case was no longer built on one missing woman. It was becoming a puzzle with pieces from years earlier. Was Autumn the first, or the last? Thursday, 11:06 a.m. Just as the investigation seemed to stall, one phone call changed everything. Willow Hayes told Detective Bruce Holloway she had dated Clayton Reeves years earlier. At first, he was thoughtful, patient, almost too perfect. Then, little by little, he began controlling every decision she made. When she tried to leave, he didn't threaten her. He simply made everyone believe she was the problem. Her story sounded hauntingly familiar. Investigators compared Willow's account with Autumn's recent messages. The same promises, the same excuses, the same emotional pressure. Different woman. Identical pattern. For the first time, detectives wondered if Autumn had discovered who Clayton really was, and paid the price for it. But where was Autumn? Detectives returned to the beach where Autumn Brooks had smiled for the last time. This time, they weren't looking at the view. They were looking at the timeline. Julia Moreno combined phone records, surveillance footage, and witness statements. One detail refused to fit. Clayton Reeves had claimed he drove straight home. The evidence showed an unexpected stop, only minutes away from the shoreline. Search area expanded. As investigators searched the area, Catherine Mills shared something she had almost dismissed. Clayton had arrived home much later than usual that afternoon. He seemed distracted, and immediately began washing his vehicle. It wasn't proof, but together with everything else, the picture was changing. The case takes a turn. Detective Bruce Holloway looked at Clayton and quietly said, "Someone is finally telling us the truth. It just isn't you." Clayton's calm expression faded for the first time. One final question remained. The final pieces came together. Julia Moreno's digital analysis, witness statements, surveillance footage, and financial records all pointed in the same direction. Clayton Reeves' version of events had collapsed under the weight of the evidence. Arrest made. After weeks of interviews and forensic work, investigators recovered the evidence they needed. Clayton was arrested and later convicted for Autumn Brooks' murder. Her family finally heard the words they had been praying for. Guilty. No sentence could bring Autumn back, but it ended the lies that had stolen her voice. Justice for Autumn Brooks. Faith Donovan stood outside the courthouse with tears in her eyes. She deserved the future she was planning. The least we could do was make sure the truth was never buried with her. Autumn's story became a reminder that appearances can deceive, but patience, evidence, and persistence can still uncover the truth. Justice came too late to save her, but it came in time to hold her killer accountable. If this story moved you, subscribe to The Veil of Secret for more real true crime stories where every victim's story deserves to be remembered.